So here's something interesting, my dear South Africans. You're actually not going crazy. Airline prices are high right now. Actually, no. They're very high, and there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. So something very interesting is that BusinessTech ran a study on how local airline prices in South Africa have skyrocketed over the last 2 years. And let me tell you, I feel like I've been vindicated. I've been vindicated for booking flights and then waking up in a cold sweat in the early morning, thinking to myself, man, I'm feeling a little bit scammed here. I don't know if I'm the only one who felt like this. So this analysis was quite simple. They took the average round trip prices between Johannesburg and Cape Town and Johannesburg and Durban across airlines such as like FlySafair, Lyft, Airlink and SAA. The prices for these flights were compared in November of 2022 and November of 2024. This was done just before December holidays, when likely a lot more people are actually booking. Actually, before we get into what the study actually showed us, drop in the comments how you're actually getting home this December and how much it's going to cost you. Also, maybe tell us how much your December flights were, and honestly, tell us when you booked them. There's something very interesting that I want to see. Cool, hit us up below. Okay, so the largest increase for airline prices were for flights from Johannesburg to Cape Town, because honestly, that route is just a clean heist. These flights increased by 2,098 Rand, which is like a 43+% increase from an average of 4,800 Rand in 2022 to 6,928 Rand in 2024 for a return trip from Joburg to Cape Town. That's insane, guys. Honestly, what's going on? So when they looked at flights from Joburg to Durban, those had increased by 943 Rand or 31.7% to an average of 3,920 Rand for a return trip in 2024. That's insane, bro. So like prices are going up not just internally in South Africa, but also for international flights. Okay, so why am I saying that? Because things get even worse when you start to look at international flights to like Europe and everywhere else outside the continent. These flights are about to get even a lot more expensive from next year, as airlines are starting to be weird, right? They want to charge additional fees to cover the costs of like buying stuff like cleaner fuel, right? Environmental stuff. The aviation sector is actually facing increasing regulations, and like there's a growing trend of being more environmentally conscious for them. And this is set to drive up your costs for airline tickets. It's going to get more expensive to fly. Now, according to industry experts, the causes of these flight price increases is multifaceted. There's a lot of reasons as to why this is happening, and we'll kind of go into a couple of them. For one, climate people have managed to lobby airlines, and now there's like a huge clean fuel drive that's happening, right? And this is because a number of airlines are now introducing like surcharges that help them to cover the cost of a new type of fuel, right? They're calling it sustainable aviation fuel, and airlines have to actually comply to this. Virgin Atlantic and Lufthansa, two airlines that operate direct flights from South Africa to the continent of Europe as well as to other places, have already started to implement these, and it's gonna cost everybody more. This sustainable aviation fuel, or like SAF for short, is actually produced from sustainable feedstocks and is very similar in chemistry to traditional fossil jet fuel, which is strange, right? Because if you want it to be sustainable, can we also maybe try and make it cheaper? SAF actually gives an impressive reduction of about 80% in carbon emissions. That's great, right? This is over the life cycle of the fuel compared to traditional fuels. This is also good for the planet. But there's an issue. The issue is that, you've probably guessed it right, SAF is currently more costly than traditional fossil jet fuels. The EU and its never-ending regulations really have me here, because due to these imposed quotas and new charges that are prescribed for this cleaner aviation fuel, these prices are obviously being passed on to us as the end users. And a lot of these are starting next year in 2025. So whether you're flying in South Africa, it's costing us more, or if you're trying to fly out, it's going to cost you more. Maybe African countries should probably just match the energy of the EU guys and add more taxes to minerals. Whoa, okay. Maybe that's a little bit drastic. I don't know. Tell us in the comments. The EU from next year is going to require all aviation stakeholders to use at least 2% of that fuel that I was talking about. That's SAF. And it's gotta be part of like all their fuel purchases. It's actually so crazy how they can just mandate a lot of this stuff. Now, this mandate is also going to apply to member states of the EU, as well as the UK, Norway, and even Switzerland. So yeah, fasten your seatbelts because it's gonna be a long and bumpy and expensive ride for all of us. But I want us to get back to South Africa. Now, the South African aviation industry is now also starting to feel the pressure of scrutiny, right? Because members of parliament have suddenly woken up from their slumber. And they're now calling for a literal inquiry into why airline prices are so high. Hallelujah. Finally, they're doing a little bit of work, right? Little bit, not too much. Now, the Parliamentary Committee on Trade, Industry and Competition is looking at getting the Competition Commission, right, to investigate South African airline prices for their exorbitant tickets that just never seem to get down. Have they even done the R1 FlySafair thing this year? And who actually got a ticket for R1? Please tell us in the comments. Now look, prices have always been higher during peak periods, like December, right? We've always known this. But like now, it seems like it's way much more higher and there's a whole lot of us crying over prices. I don't know if it's because we have less in our pockets and prices are high, or we just can't afford. Or maybe we're just poor and we should just like admit that. I don't know. I actually don't know. But I do know that there's other factors that are causing the South African airline industry to still be a little bit more constrained. And one of those things is capacity. There are just not enough companies who are operating airlines and offering us customers seats to where we want to go and at the right price. For instance, the liquidation of Comair in 2022 is still a big part of this because it significantly reduced the nation's airline capacity. Lyft, FlySafair and Airlink, they've tried to step in and fill some of the seats that were there, right? The void that's been left by Comair. But the industry is still recovering itself, right, from the lockdowns, meaning that they're going to be looking to get as much money out of us, to squeeze as much money out of us, and to try and do it for as long as they possibly can. I mean, that is capitalism. Obi guys. FlySafair was also quoted as saying that South African airline capacity has kind of returned to roughly about 70% of pre-pandemic levels, which actually leaves us as travelers with fewer options still, especially during high demand periods like now. Like, the issue right now is that airlines do have seats for off-peak periods, but on peak, the airlines are just in it, bro. They're in it to get as much money as they possibly can, and we just have to take it. We are price takers, they are price givers. It doesn't really feel that great. Whoever thought you would miss Mango? Because I proper miss Mango Airlines. I miss them so much. Mango, please come back. We miss you, Mfetu. Look, we took them for granted. I'm not going to lie. But look at us now. We are suffering. We're suffering, guys. The other thing is that jet fuel prices generally aren't helping us to get cheaper flight tickets. Because in the past 24 months, these costs have just also been going up. This also was because Russia did that one thing, Ukraine, yeah. Global oil supplies were disrupted and the prices just basically shot up. So this affected jet fuel. And we as South Africa, we suffer from an over-reliance on things like imported jet fuel because we just don't have enough local refining and local production capabilities. What we have is insufficient. Now, this makes our local market very vulnerable to things like exchange rates, ups and downs. So whatever happens globally is going to affect the price that we get aviation fuel for, and also it's going to hit us in the pocket. The Randelas have just also been very problematic, guys, because a lot of airlines actually operating in South Africa, they lease the aircraft, and a lot of these aircraft, these leases are done in dollars or euros. Yeah, you know where this is going. The exchange rate and the power of the rand is actually something that's causing those airline tickets to also go up. Things can become very expensive almost overnight when you look at exchange rates. And this is also why your flight tickets cost more. It's actually getting so crazy that South African airlines are now allocating just over half of their operating expenses to fuel. This they are passing on to us again, because airlines have traditionally not been as profitable as what people think so. Now, my fellow travelers, there are very little options for y'all. Next, they're going to be charging us for closing the door on flights. I promise you, they're going to find other ways to just get more money out of us. Are we going to drive? I don't know. So what are the experts saying? Well, they're saying that travelers must book early. Yeah, come on, bruh. That's not a real tip. And also, we need to consider alternative travel dates. No, we want to go on the dates we want to go. But look, maybe I don't want to do that. But also, have you seen the cars on the road to KZN, Eastern Cape, and those type of provinces in December? Cape Town drive, not so much, because honestly, that's like a once every 3 year type of drive, because that road is brutal. So we're not driving there. But a lot of people are looking at driving. But tell us in the comments if you're deciding to just drive down there. So another tip from the experts, they're saying that we should avoid peak days around sort of like mid-December. Or you should try to fly midweek, which could lead to like some savings. That's what they're saying. They're saying fly, but like fly differently. The reality is that the higher airline prices are likely going to be with us for a very, very long time because of some of the factors that I've said. Now, my other worry is that airlines will just get used to these new prices, and the revenue lines on their income statements are going to stay the same. And that's going to be a bit tricky for everybody. So, with all that said, we as South Africans need to now just prepare for like more expensive holidays, more expensive travel seasons, and for a few more seasons to come, we're going to be squeezed. And it's not going to be nice, but Sizotini, we're going to go because we're not going to stay at home. But I guess it was important for us to understand why these things are going up and why airline prices are the way that they are. I hope that I've given you some understanding that can help you as a traveler or a future traveler or a current traveler to make more informed decisions and also to manage your budgets just a little bit better during these high demand periods. Also, I just got really scared because I just thought of something. Like, can you imagine a full family trying to pay for flights for everybody? Mom, dad, 2 kids plus cousins. It's proper. You honestly have to be like Bill Gates or someone. Like, it's quite tricky. And like death and taxes, back to school is inevitable. Almost like Thanos. So plan wisely, my fellow festive seasoners. Don't go too hectic. And remember, it's gonna be okay eventually. Thank you for watching this video about airline prices. I hope it was interesting for you to watch as it was for us to make. Check out one of these other videos and hopefully they'll be just as interesting as this one. Happy festive. Cheers.